Welcome to Cresta vs Summit Midwest Drags 2023, proudly supported by Valvoline, Golby's Parts, GFB and Raceworks. This particular episode we're kicking off just having driven from the outskirts of Atlanta, Georgia, all the way to Petersburg, Virginia. We're doing a little bit of touristy stuff, so first we're going to go and check out the Keystone Tractor Museum, then we're going to go and hit the track and do some racing. This is day 0, so it's the tech and sign-on day. You've obviously just seen now also there's an oil pan sitting under the transmission. The transmission's hanging down and there's some lines off it. We're having a couple of issues at this point where the transmission or the converter charge pressure is a lot higher than we're used to seeing. Our previous data, even from sick week, we've found about 30 PSI of charge pressure. So at this point, Maddie and I and Dad have all basically jumped under the car and started pulling things apart. And we've disconnected the transmission cooler lines. We've also removed the charge pressure bleed solenoid to clean that out and clean all the lines. We didn't actually have a definitive answer as to what was wrong. However, cleaning it and putting everything back together, we kind of got back to original charge pressures that we were seeing between sort of 15 and 20 PSI. So unfortunately, don't have a definitive answer on what actually failed or what was hindering us, but just pulling it apart and cleaning all the lines out and actually disconnecting the transmission cooler return line from the box and pumping it into the oil drain tray. We saw pretty sufficient flow there and everything looked pretty happy. So a little bit of an odd mystery, but sometimes pulling things apart, cleaning them and putting back together can make them work. So on this particular instance, it did work and the car worked much better throughout the test and tune. So we'll keep on watching. So again, the Crest is class limited. We can only run 850. Anything quicker than that, 8499999, we can't hand that time slip in. This particular event, you also need to hand in 2 time slips per day. So we spent the later half of the afternoon really trying to chase that 850 time. The last pass you've just seen here with me holding the time slip is an 8505. So that's pretty much as good as we're going to get. So really stoked with it at this point, and we're basically going to pack up now and see what happens tomorrow.
One third speed. 209.
So here's the situation. We've done 3 passes. We actually had a pretty good result on the track. Managed an 8.4, which is obviously too fast. 2 8.5s, which we're pretty happy with. Put the car back to street mode, having a much quieter exhaust on it. The all too familiar flex plate knock was there on initial startup, so it was clearly loose at some point already in the run today. Basically, it means we've got to pull the box out. So yeah, we're partway through already. I've basically done most of the underside. Maddie's working on the bell housing stuff at the moment. So yeah, hopefully in the next 20 minutes or so we'll have the box out, and then we'll assess what we find when we pull the box out and go from there. But all things going well, we should have this thing back together in another hour and a half or so. So we'll see how we go, and yeah, hopefully we're on the road in daylight. Fingers crossed. So here's what we found. Basically, all these flex plate bolts are backed out, and obviously the flex plate's now pretty loose. Maybe let that be a lesson. Don't always use a torque wrench. That's probably the worst advice I can actually give you, but this is one of the 2 times I've only ever torqued these bolts to spec, and both times they've come loose very quickly. So I don't really have an answer for that, but we're going to drown these things in red thread locker from Permatex, and hopefully it'll last more than a day. So we'll pull this apart, check to make sure nothing's actually damaged, and we'll replace all these bolts as well because we do have spares. So yeah, I don't like reusing them once they've gone this far, so we'll give it a bit of a touch up and slap it back together. Well, it's been a bit of a mammoth afternoon here at Summit Midwest Drags Day 1. We've got the car back together now after again pulling the transmission out of it and doing a flex plate. We did a precautionary removal of the box and redid all this stuff the other day. I'm still going to go on the fact that we probably didn't have the correct torque spec for those bolts. Basically now they're just tight. We didn't actually torque them this time because I'm just paranoid. Every time I've had an issue with a flex plate bolt coming loose, it was torqued to spec. So make of that what you will. We've only got a casual 5-hour drive today, so being that it's 5 p.m, we'll probably get in about 11 o'clock in our accommodation by the time we go to the checkpoint, then to our accommodation, plus get some food or fuel. We may end up eating at Waffle House, so it's going to be an interesting night. It's pretty bright out because it's middle of summer in the States, so yeah, the light may confuse you, but it is definitely 5 p.m. in the evening. We are, to my knowledge, the last running vehicle leaving the track today, so go team. The drive pretty quickly turned from day to night. There was a ton of bridges that we went over, and because we had so many stops through drinks, the car physically getting hot internally, and for fuel, we ended up getting to the checkpoint quite late, which then obviously meant getting to our accommodation even later. Well, that's day 1 of 2023 Midwest Drags in the bag. It's been a pretty long one for us. We've been up since about 6 o'clock this morning. It's now 11:22 p.m. We've done 4 states today, so we started in Virginia, Maryland, went to Delaware, and now we are in New Jersey. So yeah, it's been a day. Yeah, we're pretty wrecked. I want to say massive thanks to you guys, obviously, for following the series. This is obviously the first episode. You're going to be seeing more of it to come. So thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.